Hello. I'm gonna make you co-host.
Yeah, mute.
Okay, so I'm on mute?
No, I was.
Okay. I was gonna say just what I need. Hold on. I think we are already streaming live, so we're testing. And I've got you as co-host. And hi, Lynn. So when people start coming in, let me just get my everything. Hmm. Mhm. Okay, can you see that, Alice?
It hasn't, it's still coming up, but it says you've started your screen sharing.
Okay, but you still can't see it?
No, not yet.
Okay, it's saying it's paused for some reason. All right, go ahead and let folks in and we'll let it do what it's gonna do.
Got 6.
Okay. Come on in, come on in. We'll put some music on at least. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Wealth Secrets for First Generation High Earners. Glad that all of you are here. And we've had over 100 people register, and so we are streaming live on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. So come on in. Good yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Well, I guess it's still good morning, right? We tried a different time. And in the chat, if we could just start out by, I want to know who's in the room and where you hail from. So in the chat, if you could just share with us where you're from, I'll give you a shout out and then we'll get started on our presentation. So good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of WealthyU, where we teach high earning women how to build their first investment portfolios to on. So I'm going to make sure everybody's muted, getting a little bit of feedback, but welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to be I'm going to be, hey, Felicia from Bowie. I'm glad you're here. Hey, 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 if you can't turn on your cameras, I'd love for you to do that. But certainly I know that many of you are in your workplace and you may even be just listening in. So Doreen, oh, it's good to see you, Doreen, Doreen and I go way back to our National Association of Black Journalists days. Staffing me today is the amazing Alice Wood. She's one of our member success advisors and does many, many things in WealthyU. Actually started out as a member, and what often happens in WealthyU is, you see people and their commitment to our cause of helping women, and you try and at least help them entice them to come on the team. So, ladies, we're going to get right into this. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. And let me just make sure, can all of you see my screen in the chat? Let me know if you can. If you can see my screen, let me know. Excellent. Let me make sure I have my chat up here as well. Okay, great. Everybody got to see. So I'm going to go to full screen now. And we're going to get right into this presentation. So good afternoon, everyone. I keep saying good afternoon, good morning. We're not quite there yet, but I'm Deborah Owens and I'm founder and CEO of WealthyU. And this is our master class on wealth secrets for first generation high earning women. If you don't know, Wealth Secrets is my most recent book. And in that book, I share a lot of the concepts that you're going to hear about today. And so who am I? I'm a financial expert, an author. You can often see me in the media. I'm a former vice president with Fidelity Investments. I've traveled on many national tours with the likes of TD Jakes for a number of different investment companies. You may have seen me on even CNN, and I'll get into that a little later. But what I want all of you to know, but really at the end of the day, I am you. So I already started that, but if you're just joining us, I always like to know who's in the room, to introduce yourself and what do you do and where are you from so that everyone knows who's in the room. So you can just put that in the chat as we go along. And I know we've got some folks from, okay, so you are showing us the notes. Interesting. Okay, so hang on, let me try this again. Okay, can you guys see it this way? Okay, so just in the chat, let me know. Can you see the screen? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I guess it was on viewing. All right, so in the chat, introduce yourself. Let me know who's in the room and where you are from, and we're going to get right into this presentation. Sophia, yeah, Sophia is an existing client with WealthyU, and she is a fabulous CEO. And I'm surprised that you've been even have the time to join us today, but I am grateful that you are here. So all I want to know for all of you is stay until the end because I have a gift for you. And they say that people that stay to the end that they make sure that they get all of the benefits. So I want to begin getting engagement. All right. So what I want to know is what is your highest monthly expense? So I'm interested in knowing what is your highest expense in the chat. Let me know. Hey, Roxanne, a number one of our members. So Roxanne says taxes. Who else? What is your highest expense? Highest expense. Cheryl says mortgage. Sophia says private school and taxes. That's right, Sophia. Keep going. Keisha says mortgage. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're going to come back to that in just a minute, but I really want to talk about first who this webinar is for. And you could be that high achiever. And if you relate to this, put me in the chat. High educational attainment, maybe you've got a BA, an MBA, you know, what do I want to call graduate degrees? And perhaps you've checked all the boxes, college, career, management track. You could even belong to a sorority, alumni association, committee. You're an industry rock star. And you may even be a conservative investor and you're in the highest tax bracket. If I described you, put me in the chat. If I described you, put me in the chat. You don't have to have all of the above, but certainly you are, what can I say, Sophia? Yes, that's you, right? So what I want you to know is you are in the right place. Now, maybe like me, you were a corporate trailblazer, first generation postgraduate. Maybe you have a BA, an MDA, an MBA, JD, you know, one of those, but postgraduate, right? Senior manager, director, or partner, like you made it into that senior management suite. You may even have several $100,000 in student loans, and certainly we have that in WealthyU. Your retirement savings, how many of you feel like your retirement savings are low relative to your earnings? Like, you know you should have more, but you're not quite where you should be. Perhaps because of those student loans and all the other things, you have a negative net worth and you're in the highest tax bracket. If I described you, put me in the chat. And you may not have everything, but I'm describing some of the challenges that you may be experiencing. And that's what we've seen in WealthyU is that for so many of us, we've done all the right things that were supposed to lead to financial success. And somehow we still feel like we're not quite savvy enough. Anybody feel like that? I certainly felt like that early in my career. Like I got all the education, but somehow I feel like I should be further ahead and know more. And so perhaps like me, you left the corporate fast track to start your own business. Sophia says, me. And maybe you decided to stay home for work-life balance. Use retirement savings during your work absence. You're re-entering the workforce at a lower salary, and you may still feel like you have inadequate retirement savings. Actually, I think this is you, Sophia, and me as well. The entrepreneur left a corporate career with cushy benefits to start your own business. You may have started out consulting as a solopreneur, and as your business grow, you're trying to create financial security as a business owner. and your old employer plan might even be sitting at your prior employer, and you have no clue what to do next. Well, what I want to share with you is the reason you're here. And if you related to any of the different archetypes or those attributes or those archetypes, what I want to tell you is that you got the wrong blueprint, right? Like I don't know about you, and I'll talk about it a little later. I was told college, career, earn as much as you can, and that would lead to financial success. And what I see for why I started WealthyU really is I see so many women who did take that blueprint just like I did. Now, on the left-hand side is a picture of my mother, and she's 19 years old. She recently had gotten married to my father. And then on the left-hand side is my graduation picture, and I'm 17 years old, and I just graduated from East Catholic High School, and my mother poured everything that she could into me. I was the fifth of five children, the youngest, and so as you can imagine, my parents had a greater socioeconomic stability, and they wanted the best for me. And so there were private schools. I went to a private Catholic high school. There was ballet. There were all the things. And I know my mother's dream for me as someone who was the daughter of a sharecropper from Pineapple, Alabama, who actually was in those cotton fields. She really wanted me to succeed and did everything that she could do to make sure that I did. And how many of you in the chat can relate to that? Like, I'm sure that your parents wanted the best for you. And so she said, Deborah, you're going to get a great education. You're going to go to college and you're going to get that. You're going to be a financial success. You're going to be able to have everything that wasn't possible for me. And in you, I see you in my dreams. Can anybody relate to that? I mean, did your parents have, if that's you, so I just want you to know that was the blueprint that my parents, my mother gave me. And I followed it lockstep until shortly after this, in my first year of college, my parents separated. And I saw my mother's standard of living be reduced from solid middle class to barely making it. And I'm in college and I say to my mother, don't worry about me. You have prepared me for what's ahead. And I'm going to make sure I'm able to accomplish those dreams. But I tell you, what I didn't know, So imagine me, I'm the first in the family to even attend college, right? And then I have to go find a job. And what happens next is, and this is really interesting and what I'm going to share with all of you. What happens next is, I don't know why I cannot, hang on. Okay, my presentation just simply does not. I know you guys can see the notes, but that's okay. What my parents had given me was the earner mindset. And that earner mindset said, get a college degree, uh, 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 get a great job. And I did. But what I realized after going on in my career is that I had been given the wrong blueprint. And that's really what I'm going to share with you today is how I discovered that. And so I went on my career, and after a couple of years trying to find my way in a career, I stumbled at first into a Merrill Lynch office. And that's where I got my securities license and learned that wealthy people had a totally different blueprint. In my first job at an investment company, I all they had was the role of a receptionist, but I knew from the day I stepped in that investment company that they knew something that I didn't. And so I took a pay cut and I started as a receptionist at Merrill Lynch and then was recruited by Fidelity Investments. And I had a fast trajectory. I went on and finished my college degree. I went into management training and went on to manage the West Coast for Fidelity. and then landed in Washington, D.C., where I opened their first prototype. But it was during that career that I learned the secrets that I'm going to share with you today. And that really is what I learned is that I had been given the wrong blueprint. And so after several years at Fidelity, I decided that what I wanted to do was share what I had learned with the world. And so from there, the first thing I learned, not only did they have a different blueprint, but that the wealthy have a different set of rules, that they don't pay the kind of taxes that we do. And that's because they get access to strategies that allow them to understand that you cannot just earn your way to wealth, that really the way for you to accelerate your financial growth, keep more of what you earn, is to make the shift from earner to owner. And as you can see, look at this. You all often hear Warren Buffett talk about the fact that his secretary pays less in taxes than he does. So the question I have for you guys, what do these folks know that we don't? Anybody want to take a guess? What do they know that we don't? Okay, what do they know? They know that in order to really take advantage of the system, that you have to invest and you have to have tax strategies that are tax advantaged and aren't taxed and are taxed at a lower rate. And so that's where I learned these secrets. And that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today. So it's been quite the journey since I left Fidelity. I went on to uh uh right, that's my first radio show in the studio where Kathy Hughes gave me my start. I went on to write my next book, my first book, Confident Investing. That's my introduction slide for TD Jakes' God's Leading Ladies Tour. Then I went on to write my next book, A Purse of Your Own, and launch the A Purse of Your Own campaign for to financially empower women. And in the last chapter of that book, I asked for women to start their own purse groups, 5 to 10 women. That's our first group right there. And Annette is still a very good friend of mine, many of those same women. But, you know, we started over 1,400 purse groups. And what I discovered is that most of them failed. Anybody want to take a guess on why those purse groups fail? Anybody? Why did those purse groups fail? Well, what I learned is that there weren't, if this is a topic that you feel intimidated by, it's very difficult to learn with others. And that's when I decided actually to launch. There's me on CNN with Kate Baldwin interviewing me about the A Purse of Your Own book. But it wasn't until I launched WealthyU at the urging of my son, who told me, he said, Mom, you know, you can do all the things and you can write many books, but what people need is accountability and they need help with implementation. And that's when everything changed. And so once I founded the WealthyU in its current form, which has been going for about 8 years, where we actually help women take ownership of their financial success, we provide them with accountability and support, and we give them access to the secrets of high net worth folks. When we get the right blueprint, magic happens. And so since then, launching WealthyU, we've created the Legacy Wealth Blueprint. And this blueprint, the whole goal of it is to help you understand that you have to shift from just earning an income to transferring that income into wealth. This is the journey that women take in order to accelerate their financial growth and apply those secrets that the very wealthy know and apply it so that they too can experience the same kind of financial success. And so here's an example of Belinda, one of our members. Before joining WealthyU, she had delegated all of her investments to an advisor without understanding any of his recommendations. She was 20 years into her career and was not on track with her retirement savings. Her personal rate of return in her portfolio was less than 5% and barely growing each year. And her advisor had transferred her funds into an annuity that had high fees and high surrender charges. In fact, I was just talking with her about this the other day. And she was in the highest income bracket and had a high tax burden. Well, after joining WealthyU, she learned how to analyze her portfolio, increased her personal rate of return. She achieved seven figures in her retirement savings plan. She established a brokerage account and is building an investment portfolio. She established a backdoor IRA and created an estate plan. And this is what I'm most proud of. When I get these texts that say, Deborah, I learned last night I've become one of those with a seven-figure retirement account. I cannot thank you enough. But what I tell all of the women in WealthyU, you can, and I wonder if any of you can relate to this, like you can have all the information, right? Like how many of you, let me just go down the line. How many of you have read Susie Orman's book? Okay. How many of you have read Glenda Bridgeforth, Girl, Get Your Money Straight, Girl, Make Your Money Grow? How many of you have read all of the books and yet you never were able to apply the information? If you can relate to that in the chat, let me know. And you know what I say, you know where most of those investments go or those books go? If you can relate to that in the chat, let me know, right? What I want you to know is, and what we've learned is what you need is the difference is having the accountability and support. Sophia says, yes, I can relate. And Tisha says, yes, I can relate, right? The difference really is having the accountability and support along with the right blueprint. And that's really what I share in my most recent book, Wealth Secrets. I literally chronicle the stories of women who, when they, even though they did the right thing, when they finally got the accountability and support and were around like-minded women and began to understand why the blueprint they had been given didn't work. And so that's really what I want to share with you today is how first generation high earning women can apply these same tax advantage strategies to turn their income into wealth. And so in the book, Wealth Secrets, I actually have 7 main wealth secrets. But this foundationally, the first secret is the most important of all. And that is because what I discovered, what the wealthy know, is they know that it's not enough to just earn. You have to turn your income into wealth. And what that really means is making the shift from just earning an income. How many of you have been in pursuit of that first 6 figures and on, and you want to get to multiple 6 figures? And yet when you get there, you feel like, why don't I have more money? And part of it, I'm going to go back to that original question that I asked you. And part of it is because your biggest expense is taxes. That's what the wealthy know that we don't. And so it's not enough to just earn the money. You have to learn how to turn that income into wealth in a tax advantaged way. And so what I want you to understand is that our financial system is set up so that it rewards certain things. And what it rewards more than anything is investment. And so the amount of taxes that you pay in dividends and capital gain is a lot lower than what you pay in earned income. So going back to that chart and showing you, yes, Felicia says, I feel like I earn less now. Exactly. So going back to that chart, the reason that the Warren Buffetts, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos pay less in taxes It's because most of their income comes from dividends and tax and capital gain. Another way that investment rewards, that you're rewarded with investments, is also real estate. So, I mean, love him or hate Donald Trump, what he has been able to do, the reason he pays so little in taxes is because he gets to write off depreciation and amortization against that income. And so what I want all of you to understand, that as you earn more income, your tax liability, you move, because we have a marginal tax rate, meaning every time you hit a certain income level, you pay more than taxes, that it's not enough to just earn the income. You have to learn how to invest that income in a tax advantaged way. And so when I talk about earner, to what I know, what I discovered from being with high net worth individuals is they understand this. Now, let me just preface this. I am not by no means saying that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, right? Full time, anyway. But what I am saying is that you have to find ways to move more of that income to the owner side. So the truth is that as a W-2 earner, the only deductions that you get to benefit from are mortgage interest. They've even limited the amount of that you can write off. Property taxes, they've limited the top on how much you can deduct in property taxes. And then charitable donations. And with the last tax change, all of these limited your ability to and how much you can deduct, right? Even if you're a solopreneur, if you're not structured, your business entity isn't structured properly, it becomes ordinary income that you're earning. And so these are still the only tax deductions that you actually can take advantage of. But if you go on this side and you go from earner to owner, and you either take some of those earnings and become an investor so that you can take advantage of this, or you are a business owner, or in some cases, what's really, really interesting, UBS just did a study, and one of the things that it found is that women who make it into what is considered high net worth status, right? Most of them had both of these. And the benefit to having, if you have earned income and also have some kind of consulting practice, then you get to take advantage of these kinds of deductions. But what I would say is that what we teach in WealthyU is that regardless if you're here, you can still take a tax advantage approach. That's what I want you all to understand, is that you have to begin to shift from earner to owner with your investment strategies. And so let me give you an example of someone who did that. One of our members, Sharon, she had returned to school to obtain an MBA. All of those funds, she self-financed her education. And in spite of her accomplished in many degrees, she was not being fully compensated for her education and experience. And I don't know if any of you have watched, but if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I recently did a panel and I talk about what I consistently see with women. And that is, many of you are playing not to lose. And so you're staying in roles far too long. And what happens is then you lose your ability. But this is a prime of example of what you need to do to take advantage of opportunities. So Sharon increased her net worth. She was able to obtain a new position. She began to invest in real estate and limited partnerships, and that reduced her tax liability from using these tax advantaged strategies. The other point I want to make is we have an event coming up on April 6th, where a lot of these strategies are going to be conveyed. And our keynote speaker is actually the senior VP of the National Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts, because a lot of people feel like you have to actually own property and they don't want to be property owners. No, there are all different ways that you can invest in a tax advantaged way. You just need to and so that you can offset some of that earned income and keep more of what you earned. And that's a lot of what we spend our time focused on in WealthyU. And the other thing I didn't mention is many of these women will be at the event. So this is Dia, high earner, low investment returns, no investments outside of her 401k, high tax liability. After joining WealthyU, she learned how to analyze, optimize, and maximize her 401k options and increased her return on investments. Now, here's the other point I want to make as well, is that many of you have significant benefits that in your organizations, but you are not fully exploiting them and taking advantage of them. And I'm going to double click on that in just a minute. So Dia invested in her employee stock purchase plan, established that, took advantage of the health savings account benefit. And I don't have time to go through all of that right now, but all I want you all to know is that you have access to a lot of benefits that you're not fully taking advantage of. But it's not enough to just invest in your 401k. You got to come out of just that 401k, begin to invest, establish a brokerage account, build a stock portfolio that's going to allow you to take advantage of those capital gains and dividends in the lower tax advantaged way. And Dia invested in additional real estate. So before joining WealthyU, this is Stacy, high earner, low investment returns, no investments outside of her 401k, high tax liability. Since joining WealthyU, this is the other thing. I just got a email last night from one of our members who just had $80,000 in student loan debt forgiven. Now, how did that happen? It happened because one of the women who you'll meet if you attend our Legacy Wealth Blueprint live event, Dr. Tisa Silver, has really devoted her time to and has established a new business, and that's all she's does. She's helped families have over $10 million. Now I think she's up to $12 million in student loan forgiveness. If I may ask, how many, if anyone applied for student loan forgiveness and weren't successful at it? And maybe you feel like you don't qualify. Well, I want you to know that you really have to investigate and get the right knowledge. So so she had $92,000 in student loan forgiveness through PSLF, analyzed, optimized, and maximized her 401k options, invested in a health savings account, established a brokerage account, and built a stock portfolio. And her husband just launched a small business. This is another one of our members. Before joining WealthyU, she was the head of a global fitness company. She invested in her mutual funds through 401k, but she had limited exposure to analyzing and researching stocks, even though she had a significant real estate investment portfolio. After joining WealthyU, she actually launched Open Venture Capital, which has raised over $10 million to invest in those early stage companies. That's another another opportunity or access that we give for you to understand the different types of high net worth investments that are available to you. So she established an investment portfolio, created a program to teach women how to invest in real estate, and it has actually done a lot of training in WealthyU, and she established investment portfolios for her children. But now what I want to share with you is this is what's really, really important. What's important is that you take advantage of everything that's available to you. So in this case, what I find is many of you are not taking advantage of health savings accounts through your employer. You need to determine if you should be in a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k. Many of you are qualified to invest in, you may not qualify to invest in an after-tax IRA, but in many cases you can invest in an IRA and then roll over or convert those to what is called a backdoor IRA or a backdoor Roth. Many of you have investment opportunities, not just outside of your 401k, but even beyond that. And so what's really, really important, right, is that you understand how to shift that earned income over into tax advantaged income. And it really is a function of you accelerating your financial growth. And in WealthyU, we call that analyze, optimize, and maximize to make sure that you're, one, contributing and getting the full benefit of those tax deductions, but also that you're making the maximum contributions that you can. So how many of you feel like, man, you've let time get away from you? If that's you, in the chat, let me know. If you feel like time has gotten away and that you're wondering, will you have enough? What I want you to know is all you need to do is start, right? This is the most important thing, is to start. And basically what this chart shows is that even at 50, you still have time to save. But no matter where you are, just know in a 20-year time frame, you can get to that 7 figures in retirement, right? So in this case, this is someone investing in a 401k, and they're basically putting the maximum because they're over 50, so they can invest up to $30,000 a year. They start at 50, they continue to contribute, and at retirement, they have $1.3 million. And this is using an 8% calculation. In this case, they're contributing the maximum of, now it's $23,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. If you're under 50, you can still get to $1 million. Let's say, okay, Deborah, I can't invest that a month, but let's say even at $1,000 a month. So what I really, really want to encourage you is that no matter where you are on this time frame, the most important thing you can do is start, right? Like, most important thing I want you to know is for you to get started. Now, I told all of you we're right at 11:45 and I want to take questions, but because you stayed to the end, all of you are going to get a copy of my most recent book, Wealth Secrets, right? That has all of the secrets in them and will show you exactly what all these women did to accomplish their goals and to accelerate their financial growth. So you're going to understand now what this journey is like, the journey that they took in order to accelerate their financial growth. But not only that, not only are you going to be provided with and it's free, okay, a transformational wealth blueprint that provides you with access to these high net worth strategies for first generation high earners. One of the other things that you're going to get for staying is, Darshonda says, yay, yes, we're going to, what I want you to know, and I want you all to believe this, is that you have everything you need to be everything you need to be. The only thing standing between you and the financial success you want to achieve is knowledge. That's what I want you to know, is that if you're like me, I didn't come from wealth. But what I did get exposed to was the strategies that the wealthy use that allows them to get further, and the reason why so many of us have wealth gaps. It's not because we haven't done all the right things. It's just that we need to know when we get to a certain level, what are the other strategies we need to put into place so that we keep more of what we earn, we grow it, and we protect it. And so for all of you, so you're going to get a copy of the book Wealth Secrets. But the other thing I want to encourage you to do is to schedule a wealth ignition session. And basically in this wealth ignition session, it's just designed for you to identify what are the opportunity levers that you need to pull. And they're different for everybody. So just take a picture of that QR code or with your camera, or that is the link. If we could put that in the that link in the chat, put that in the chat so that people can use it as well. It's just bit.ly WealthyU Ignition, bit.ly WealthyU Ignition, if you want to schedule some time. And with that, I am going to just share with you briefly what happens during that wealth ignition session. So the first thing we're going to figure out is, what is your wealth gap? And we do that with a calculator that's going to give you, next you're going to know what your financial freedom factor is. What is the number that you need in order to live the lifestyle that you want to at retirement? What is that number where you can truly feel financially free? And then finally, you're going to walk away with your legacy wealth blueprint. You'll know exactly what you need to do to accelerate your financial growth. You'll know what your wealth gap is, and you'll know what the next steps are. So again, make sure you registered for this session, because that's the only way we'll have your email. Anita, I think I'm sorry, Anita, Alice, I think you're still here. So for those of you who, let me just put the link in the chat for those, and I'm going to open it up for questions now. So questions are open. Any questions? Hold on, let me unpin myself, put myself in gallery view. Okay, ladies, questions. Now, Sophia is an actual a member of WealthyU, but I don't think you've ever attended this session, Sophia. I know you may not be able to put your camera on as well, but listen, any insight? Did any of this resonate with you? And what questions do you have is what I'm interested. Ashley, number one of our members is here. Who else? Lynn, any questions, lady? Okay, let's see.
I don't necessarily have a question, but I want to say that what this webinar did for me is to go back and reassess if my tax team, right, is utilizing different tax strategies, and then go back to my husband and say, hey, honey, these are some of the tax strategy options. Are we doing this? And if not, let's look into how we can take baby steps into adopting some of these tax strategies. And it really is about the education, because sometimes your advisors and your family, you can only do and execute and apply what you know. So for me, this is education. This starts the my desire to start to take advantage of all the tax strategies just one by one, so that it's not overwhelming, and that it's a timely and perfect strategy, overall strategy to keeping my money. So I love it. It's encouraging, and it seems like it's easy, right? Like it's common sense, but it really isn't common, because we just don't know. So thank you, Deborah. I am part of WealthyU. It has changed my life and will continue to change my life. And I'm just so happy that you are following your purpose and blessing, because you're helping so many of us in so many different ways. So thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate that, Sophia. I think what's interesting for you, there's levels to it, right? And so in that journey, if you'll think about it, I mean, I didn't go through it in detail, but in that legacy wealth blueprint, what we started with you is the analyze, optimizing, maximizing of the assets you already have, right? And helping you
Mm-hmm.
to understand. And now that you know how to actually analyze and research a mutual fund, is like, oh, okay, my money wasn't working, right? And
That's
now
right.
we're working on actually the stock part and building that portfolio. And I do know that's one of our next sessions. So I'm looking forward to that, Sophia. So
So
thank
am I.
I know. Thanks so much for that feedback, because
Hmm.
I think when you know the big picture, right? Like
Yes.
have overall goal, right?
Hmm.
We were given, how many of you feel like, you did all the right things, but yet somehow you should already know this, but how would you know it? Like, this is the other thing is for most of us and coming out of the investment industry, what you don't realize is like a lot of these strategies are only used on what companies consider to be their high net worth clients. And high net worth and private clients, you have to have $1 million or more in assets already, right? So the gap is, what if I'm earning the income, but I'm not at $1 million. So I don't get access to these kinds of tax strategies that I'm sharing with you today. The point that I want to make to all of you is that it doesn't matter where you are or whether you have the assets. If you begin to apply these strategies yourself, you're going to get further faster. Let me go to, so Darshonda said, um, what's considered high earnings with the current economic state? I would say if you're making over six figures, you are in a marginal tax bracket where you can begin to apply some of these strategies. So let me just break it down for you, right? Like I know, 20 years ago, getting to 100K was, at that point, 100K probably was like making $250,000 in today's dollars, right? And so when I got to that level, what I didn't realize was that, hey, not only did I need to have a principal residence, right? But I also didn't realize the benefit of actually owning real estate that could apply, then that income is treated differently, right? So then when I started my business, I began to understand, oh, okay, I started as a solopreneur, right? And then I was just doing my own taxes. And then when I got a bookkeeper, she was like, no, you need to be an LLC so that you can take advantage if I were to go back through all those charts of the home office deduction, all the things, right? And so then I was like, oh, okay. So then as my business grew, what I didn't know was, so now I'm an LLC, but I didn't know I should be an S Corp after I got to, I want to say, started paying myself over $90,000 in distributions because I could avoid paying self-employment tax. So what I want all of you to understand is it's not how much you make. This is the point that I want to make to all of you. It's not how much you make. It's the strategy, is how much you keep. Is this making sense to you guys? And so, like, I hear all this disinformation on the internet. Now, someone said to me, oh, it's great, information is democratized. Some of this information is ridiculous. Some of you are being sold insurance as an investment. Insurance is not an investment. Does it have some tax advantages? Yes, it does. But it's different for everybody depending upon what your financial situation is. Some of you are being told to put your 401ks in tax deferred annuities. It makes absolutely no sense because your 401ks are already tax deferred. Why would you put it in that kind of a product, which then has a bunch of surrender fees? I mean, I know I'm going on a rant right now, but what's frustrating is when people come into WealthyU and they feel like they've done all the right things, and they've actually gone to people and asked them for help. And the advice that they're given has less to do with ultimately what is the right thing for them long term, and more to do with the how do I want to pay this, with the transaction oriented landscape of our financial system. That's all I want all of you to know, is that financial ignorance is expensive. And for many of you, you would already be, at multiple 6 and 7 figures. And it's not because you're not investing and doing the right things. It's just that your money is not optimized. Do you guys get this? Like, what I want you to know is that Felicia says, yes, it's how much you keep. That's right. What I want you to understand is this, is that there are some basic, average, fundamental knowledge that you need that can arm you when you're assessing whether or not something that is being proposed to you is of value to you. But it's different for everybody. That's what I want you to know. I really want to end with this, and I apologize for our little sharing technical difficulty, but I do want to go back to our legacy wealth blueprint, because I want you guys to understand the right blueprint. So can everybody in the chat, can everybody see the blueprint? I hadn't planned on doing this, but I think it's important, because what we finally did was kind of chronicle the journey that people take in WealthyU. So what I want you to see is that there are levels to it. And the first level is financial awakening. The next is wealth acceleration. And the next is legacy wealth creator, right? So here, this is the conversation I'm having with you right now, is that we were given the middle class mindset. That's what my mother did for me, but that's all she knew, right? So she never invested before, or she never knew about tax advantage strategies. She was trying to make it to the middle class, and that's where most of us are. But what we don't realize is that the wealthy have a different mindset, and that's a wealth mindset. And that wealth mindset is the earner versus the owner. That's what I want you to understand. And so in WealthyU, we spend a lot of time here really challenging the conventional knowledge that we've been given and helping you understand that you got to make a shift. And so the next thing is just understanding, what is your financial freedom factor? What is the number, the point at which your money's working, so you no longer have to? We're never taught how to turn our income into wealth. We're just taught how to earn it. And so once we know what that number is, then it becomes incumbent upon us now to turn our income into wealth. In the chat, if this is making sense to you, put yes, right? I need feedback. Okay, so now that I know what I need to have, right? Now I need to know, okay, it's not enough to just save it. And here's the other point of one I make. So many of you are playing not to lose. So if somebody says to you, oh, well, you will lose your money, or they start, like right now, they're talking, oh, the market's going to go down 20%. You don't want your money to go down. Well, that's ridiculous. Of course, the market is going to go up and down. You actually want it to, but you have to go from being a saver to an investor, and that investor wealth mindset doesn't get afraid of the market going down, because what it allows them to do is then invest at lower prices. So in WealthyU, when the market goes down, we're like, yes, what do we need to be looking at? Okay. So the next part, so you have to shift from saver to investor. And that means you've got to learn how to analyze and invest and invest. Okay, so once you learn how to analyze and research, shift from saver to investor, that will allow you to go from average returns, and the average investor basically earns about 2% in their portfolio from this lack of knowledge, to higher returns. The market has averaged 10% historically, and so that should be your objective. Your objective should be to invest above average. But in order to do that, you have to have the knowledge. And then when that happens, you go from passive investor to an active investor. And I don't mean active trader, but you're actually engaged. You're watching CNBC. You understand what earnings mean. You understand the Magnificent Seven and the role that they're playing in the kind of growth that you're having in your portfolio. So this is wealth acceleration stage, right? And then the next part is you expanding from just your mutual funds to expanding into stocks, understanding how to analyze and research them. Whether you're working with an investment advisor or not, you need to be able to evaluate the recommendations that they're making. And it's not difficult, right? Like, it's not easy, but it's not hard. And then you go into those, expanding into the stocks, the real estate, the tax advantage strategies, dividends and capital gains, being able to write off depreciation and so those kinds of things. So then the next level is not just an individual investor, but an accredited investor who's then able to invest in early stage investments that carry more risk, but also provide greater opportunity, with the ultimate goal being for you to create legacy wealth, which is not just this generation, but intergenerational wealth. That's the point I want to make. When I started out, my parents had nothing to give me, right? So in this journey, what I found different is that the wealthy don't start out in the same place. Is this making sense, guys? I know I kind of went off my soapbox, but Sophia gave me the kind of opening, if you will, to go there, right? And so what I want you to know, this is the journey, right? It's not about us. And what I also want you to know is that the goal is now for you to have this knowledge yourself so that you can pass it on to the next generation, to your children. And like my mother, I want to go back there. She gave me everything that she could possibly give me and more. But what she didn't have was the knowledge of how to build wealth. And so that's been my journey, going out here and trying to figure it out. But it wasn't enough for me to figure out, right? It's not enough for me to figure out. It's now I need to share that with all of you. And so that's really been the journey in WealthyU. And what I'm most proud of is to hear a Sophia have the kind of confidence and knowledge that she has. Alice, I'm going to call on you to introduce yourself as well. Alice is an ambassador and started out as a member of WealthyU. So when you look at that journey, Alice, what do you see?
Oh my goodness. For me, the journey honestly has been amazing. Because if you recall our first conversation, when I started out, I was already doing the real estate. So I kind of did the reverse. I was doing the real estate and not very actively involved in any other kind of investments. So I was a government employee for a while. So I had TSP, but I was kind of like a set it and forget it type thing, put it in, leave it alone. I did have a brokerage account, with Merrill Lynch because I've been with Bank of America for years. And again, you're just trusting whatever they're doing. But after our conversation and started attending a few of the sessions, so especially with the analyzing and researching stocks, and analyzing and researching mutual funds, I remember, I think after my very first analyzing and researching mutual funds, I went back and, did the worksheet and start putting my own on there. And right away, what jumped out was I had some funds that were a 1-star and a 2-star. And I am like, wait a minute. You know? But what really got me was when I went back to my advisor and I says, I don't want to be in anything that has a 1 star and a 2 star. And his response was, send me an email with what the funds are. And I thought, shouldn't you already know what I'm in and how it's performing? So, there was definitely some wake up calls, and it was, I did come to realize. I think one of my biggest thing I always say is you don't realize how much you don't know, until someone else brings it to your attention. So I was trusting, those that I thought were in the know, and probably should not have done so, at that level. So it has been very educational, very eye opening, and actually fun. I've enjoyed it. Seriously, I've enjoyed it. Even with the ups and the downs, I look at it and I was like, okay, what's dipping? What can I buy? What can I grab? So yeah, the journey has been amazing for me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I remember talking with you initially, and your thought was, well, I'm already, this is what I thought. I'm above this now, right? And just to have seen your growth, though, Alice, it's just been so wonderful to see. And I know we've gone a little late. I hope this was of value to you. Again, make sure that you registered for the uh, event to make sure that we have your email. But also, I really want to encourage all of you, the Ignite session, the WealthyU Ignition session, if you want to know what your financial freedom number is and get a sense of what levers you need to pull, that's what it's designed to do. Again, I want to thank all of you for attending our session today, all of you who are attending online. If you do want a copy of, and you're watching online and you do want a copy of the book, then in the comment section of the event page, just write wealth. Just put hashtag wealth on it, and that'll let us know that we need to reach out to you and make sure that you get a copy of the book. Again, oh, I didn't see Ashley is on. Ashley, I don't know if you can comment, another one of our amazing members. If you want to comment, I'm going to give you the floor for a moment.
Hey, Miss Deb. Hey, ladies. How you guys doing? Good afternoon. This was amazing. You know how I feel about you, Miss Deb. You've changed my life. Um, Not even just on a financial level. There's so many things that I can talk to you about in regards to family and just how to navigate those waters. When you are the high earner or the family member that wants to change the trajectory. So I really do appreciate that. You've already helped me reach 6 figures in my portfolio. So I'm ready to go above and beyond now. So I just appreciate everything that you have done. And this session was really amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, I gotta say, I'm proud of you. Man, Ashley is one of my youngest members and started with me when she was in her 20s, and now she's moving on up there. But it's just so wonderful to have seen your progress. And if you'll think about it, Ashley, that earner to owner is exactly the journey you've been on, right? So you started out as the just earning, and now you went on to take advantage of real estate and all the things that that allows you to do from a tax advantage standpoint, as well as building wealth and building your own net worth, and just having the diversification between your 401k and owning properties and the impact that that has made. And so with that, what I want all of you to understand, why I love that our members attend as well. And what's really wonderful is when they attend, tell their stories so that you understand the only thing standing between you and the financial success that you truly desire and deserve is knowledge. And so I want to invite all of you to join our free WealthyU community on Facebook, to follow me, to link to me right here on LinkedIn, because you'll learn about all of the things that we have going on in WealthyU. Darshanda says, okay, I'll get that. Credit. Credit gives you leverage, right? So I want you to understand credit gives you leverage. And why it's important to have a high credit score is your cost of borrowing is reduced, right? So when you go into a lender, if you're gonna, for example, Alice and both Ashley, they invest in real estate, right? And so your ability to go in and buy a property and the kind of terms that you're going to receive, you know, based on that financing are the cost of borrowing, right? Your income also gives you leverage and your ability. Many of the members are buying their second homes, they're buying real estate investments. And in order to do that, right, the first thing a lender's going to do is look at your credit, right? And I know sometimes you know, at the end of the day, you hear people say cash is king. Cash and credit is king. And the fact is, you want to leverage other folks' money. And so, in order to do that, like you've got to think about it, you got a $500,000 property. The bank says you give 20% of that, so you've got only got to come up with 100,000. In some cases, if it's your primary residence, you only have to come up with 3% of that. I'm not talking about closing costs, but Darshanda, I hope that helped you, right? Credit opens the door to you leveraging other people's money. Excellent. And with that, folks, thanks so much for joining us. Again, follow me right here on LinkedIn. I'm Deborah Owens, founder and CEO of WealthyU, where we help first-generation wealth builders accelerate their financial growth and give them access to tax advantage strategies. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Again, I want to encourage you to take advantage of the Wealth Ignition session. Thanks for all of our members for attending, and Alice, thanks for staffing me this afternoon. And Lynn, I didn't give you a chance to talk, but I'm not going to hold folks any longer. You guys have a great afternoon, and we'll see you right back here with more training on LinkedIn.